Hi again then guys, and welcome to a review which I did not expect to be doing so early on in this review series. In fact, this is only the second episode, or the second review in other words, that we've ever done for the first Forza Motorsport game way back in the mid-2000s now. And the reason why I did not expect this to be so early is because this is one of the cars that you have to unlock in the game. But I had a quick look on the net just to see if Forza 1 had any cheat codes, because of course as a reviewer it's fun in a general sense to play through a game, but I don't have the time to play through all of the games, especially from days gone by, that I haven't played before, to get those cars that I need to review. So sometimes having a cheat code is a huge help to be able to have those cars and review them. And that was the case with this one, because as it turns out, just like Project Gotham 1 the other day, you can use cheat codes in Forza 1. But here's the crazier thing, the exact same cheat code that I used in Project Gotham 1 also works in Forza 1, so there's an interesting connection there, and it's not the only time that you'll see a connection between Project Gotham and Forza, because in fact if you check out the TVR Speed 12 in Project Gotham 2, I believe it was, it's the exact same graphics model used in Forza, which is very interesting. I haven't looked into the connection there, but there clearly is one. Now, the cheat code that you can type in is your profile name, and there are a couple of different ones that you can type in. One is like Team Forza or something, it gives you 900 million credits, and the other one is NOSLIW, with a capital, or I should say a 0 instead of an O, I think it was, and then a capital L, capital W, but you can find it on Google anyway. And basically it gives you immediate level 50 and unlocks all of the cars. Technically it doesn't, there are still some cars that you have to win, but it unlocks the vast majority, and this one is included. Now, another thing that you might be thinking is, it's a cool car, but why would you review this Mercedes in the first game? Because, and this is the crazy part, this is the only time in the entire Forza franchise that the CLK GTR race car was ever included. And I know that sounds insane, because we've had the road car in loads of the Forza games, if not all of them, definitely most of them. But this is the only Forza game in the Motorsport and Horizon series to ever have this one. That's kind of insane, especially given how popular a car it is, how iconic it is, because it's arguably the ultimate Mercedes supercar. The CLK GTR, certainly the most exclusive and the most expensive, but this racing version was a force to be reckoned with. Unfortunately though, compared to some of the other late 90s GT1 cars, I don't personally feel that the handling in particular on this one has aged all that well. And I don't just mean in this game, because as much as I love the CLK GTR, it is a very cool car. In Gran Turismo as well, the CLK LM, which used to be incorrectly called the CLK GTR in that game, it's also good, but it's not the best handling thing around. It's a bit heavier than some of the others. It's 1,000 kilos, which is exactly 1 metric ton, which makes the horsepower per ton nice and easy to work out. And it's powerful, for sure. But it's never really up to par against stuff like your Toyota GT1s and even something like a Nissan R390. It's pretty good against stuff like the Pajamas in Gran Turismo or in this game. Again, funnily enough, it's good against those kind of machines, but once you get down into the 900, 800 kilo territory, it doesn't really keep up all that well. Now, in terms of how it performs on its own back, in other words, for 500,000 credits, which is pretty hefty, it's one of the most expensive cars in the game, it does offer quite a bit on paper. 622 horsepower, I already said it weighs a ton, so 622 horsepower per ton by definition, that's very healthy, and the torque is also very high, which is not particularly surprising for a Mercedes, road car or race car. 567 pound-feet. Now of course the category is P1, the highest class in the game, and as I said, you do have to unlock it under normal circumstances. So what is it like to actually drive? Well, the reason why I think it hasn't aged particularly well is because the CLK LM in Gran Turismo and the CLK GTR in Forza, this one in particular, not the road car, is surprisingly heavy through corners, a lot heavier than many of the other prototypes, because they tend to be the exact opposite. They have really sharp, sometimes overly twitchy steering. This is the opposite, much heavier, feels much more like a touring car than a GT1, which isn't too surprising. Mercedes has a lot of touring car experience, and some of that prowess was doubtless infused into the DNA of this car, but it's not necessarily the most conducive to making it the sharpest of things through corners. Not to say it's bad, it is thankfully a very responsive car to tuning. Because for instance, when I ran it here at Road Atlanta, which happens to be one of my favourite tracks of the Forza franchise, it was a car that when I first drove it, I didn't like it. The brakes felt a little bit weak and it was extremely heavy into the first corner. But then I went back into the tuning settings, went to the suspension, put the camber to 0, so it's running no camber at all, no toe, and then went to the diff and reduced the settings down to 25% for both acceleration and braking, and it solved it immediately, running full downforce, longer gearing. Even with the 622 horsepower, it was great. Immediately the turn-in was far better, far more control, and it's still got a massive amount of grip anyway. I mean, the car naturally has a lot of grip, so if you improve the downforce, of course, it's going to make it even better. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the fastest of these prototype race cars, or even GT1 race cars in the game. However, that's kind of not the point when it comes to something like this, because at the time, you could definitely justifiably say, don't bother using it, there are faster options out there. A Toyota GT1, for instance, could quite handily wipe the floor with this thing, but that's not really the point anymore, because of what I said. The fact that this is one of the ultimate unicorn cars of the entire franchise, it's one of the very few cars in fact, and not even the Chrysler ME412 or the Seat Cupra GT have this. This is one of the very, very few cars to only appear in one Forza game. Up until recently, of course, the Maserati MC12 Corsa as well was close to having that, but now it's back in Horizon 4. I believe it was a DLC car in Forza 2 as well. But this one, it's a rare breed. It really is the ultimate unicorn of the first game. You have to unlock it, work all the way through the game to get it, and it's such a cool car. It really is one of the most iconic 90s race cars out there. Up there with stuff like the Toyota, of course the Nissan, and the Porsche 911 GT1 as well. Of course, its best rival. But overall, that's it for my thoughts on the CLK GTR, regardless of if it's amazingly good or a little underwhelming. It doesn't really matter anymore. It's so cool that they had it in the game at all, in a very similar way, funnily enough, to the first car in this series, which was also a Mercedes, the C-Class DTM, which also surprised me that it was in the first game and never featured again. So if you haven't played the first maybe couple, or in particular the first Forza game here, give it a chance. You can boot it up on the Xbox 360, use that cheat code to get the cars if you don't want to walk all the way through or don't have all the time, but give it a chance. Some of these older games have some amazing unicorn cars, and this is one perfect example. Very cool car, great to see it in the game, and also that they do treat it with respect. It's not the best thing out there, but it is very good. So overall, that's it for my thoughts. Of course, stick around here on the channel for more reviews in all of the Forza games, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.